Hey, good morning.
Coach, as always, know you had a busy weekend travel schedule, so we do appreciate you taking some time out your schedule to join us. Coach, if you would please start us out with an opening statement just about your most recent outing versus Jackson State.
Well, obviously, wasn't our best performance. Didn't play a good game in any phase. One, I took my hat to Jackson and Coach Prime, his job they've done there. He has a phenomenal football team. We knew that going into it. He showed, exactly why they're the preseason #1 rated team and the top 25 FCS program. And to play against a team like that, you got to come in mentally ready to play. Don't think that we were mentally as sharp as we needed to be. Physically, we made some mistakes in some critical areas. And once the snowball effect hit, this kind of got worse as the game progressed. And so, obviously, whenever you take a beat down like that, you got to look inward. And as a head coach, as assistant coaches, support staff, as players, we have to do that. And we got a short week to do it with a tough Albany State team coming to Tallahassee. So, but in life, you gotta pick yourself up when you're down, and we have a resilient group of young men that will do just that. And we got 4 days to fix it, but I feel confident that we'll get it done.
Appreciate those comments, Coach. We'll now open up the floor for questions for Coach Simmons. First question goes to James Hill.
Hey, Coach, good morning. Can you talk a little bit about your quarterback play? You have two gentlemen back there. Musa's had an opportunity, and also McKay has been with you a while. Just talk about both of those gentlemen and moving forward, your thought process.
Well, obviously Jeremy didn't play his best game. We had a phenomenal week the week before against UNC, but came back this week and just a little erratic on some throws. We got to continue to work with him on his intermediate throws. Sometimes he gets his front leg locked out and he gets his lead shoulder up and the ball tends to float on a little bit. So it's something we'll continue to work on doing individual, and we get that fixed. And he's got great arm talent. Again, and we got to get him playing to the level that he's capable of. And Rashawn, Rashawn is still working his way back, and I feel confident that we have two guys that we can win with. Right now, Jeremy's the starter, and he'll continue to be the starter until otherwise a decision is made by me. He's a guy that we feel gives us the best chance to win right now, and so we're gonna just continue to work both of them because they both got to be ready to play. It's hard to win games without two really good quarterbacks. We feel like we have two, and we'll build around the guys we have and figure out what we need to do schematically to put them in the best position to execute and move the offense.
Coach, everybody likes home cooking. You get an opportunity to come back to the highest of 7 hills and play a football game. Talk a little bit about what you envision this weekend.
Well, one of our goals that we set for ourselves this year is to go undefeated at home. And so obviously this is the first opportunity to do that. It will feel good to be back in the confines of Brad Memorial Stadium. We look forward to a great crowd. We know Albany State is going to travel well. And so again, hopefully that game day atmosphere, that home field advantage will give these guys the lift they need to pick them up from, two early season losses. And so we gotta bounce back. We gotta recover. And the best student section in America right there cheering us on with the best fans in the Margin 100, I think will be enough to get it done. So looking forward to being back at Bragg. Hoping this will be the start of a 9-game winning streak for us.
Coach, currently, how many players do you have back? I know Mr. Land is back. Just talk about what you have back and the thought process on getting your full complement of all your student athletes.
Well, as of last Friday or Saturday, all but 8 guys had been certified. And so we still have about 8 that we have to work through some things with this week. And I feel confident that we'll get those things done. And, again, we're trying not to make that the focus. I think a lot of that has to do with why the players mentally just aren't in the best headspace. It's just been too much uncertainty, too many emotional roller coasters with everything that's going on. But, we're not going to make excuses for it. We're going to continue to push forward with the guys that we do have. And hopefully that number will be complete, in the next few days. So just got to keep going, got to keep pushing, and got to work work hard every day to get better. And that's what this team and coaching staff is committed to doing.
Thank you, sir. Have a blessed week.
Thank you, James.
Next question goes to Dr. Cavill.
Dr. Cavill is inside the HBC Sports Lab. Coach Simmons,
Hey, Doc, how you
How's it
doing?
going? I'm good. I'm good. Wanted to ask you a little bit more about the emotional state of the team. It's been 2 emotional, strong weekends. I know as a professional head coach, you've seen a lot of this, done a lot of it, maybe not exactly this, but different emotional things. So yourself, I'm sure you'll figure a way through it. But not only your players, but your other assistant coaches. What kind of things do you do to move them past the emotional space that they're in? Is that an individual type of thing, or is that a collective approach that you look at, or some combination of both?
I think it's definitely a combination of both. I think individually, we all have to figure out what our triggers are, you know, and what things we need to do as adults to make sure that we're in a great headspace. You know, I do that myself. I mean, I'm in therapy, and I'm not ashamed to say it. You know, there's nothing wrong. My therapist assured me of that in our first session that I don't have anything wrong with me. But again, it's good to get maintenance, right? As a quarterback, every day
Yes,
after
sir.
practice, I would ice my arm. My arm wasn't hurting; it was to keep it from hurting, right? And it's the same thing, you know, when it comes to therapy. So just trying to make sure that I have a release. I'm a person that works and works and works. I don't really have a hobby, right? I don't golf, I don't fish, I don't hunt, I don't hang out, you know, go to clubs and go to bars. I don't do any of that stuff. I work long hours and I go home late at night, you know, and try to spend the little bit of time I have left, you know, with my family. So I don't really have a release. So this is a way for me to kind of release some things, unload some things. And I think it's healthy that we all figure out what that thing is. If it's golf, hey, I gave the guys a little bit of time out this morning. You know, hey, some of them maybe go hit the front 9. You know, if it's fishing, maybe some of them got all in the water this morning and tried to see how many they can catch. You know, but whatever it is, we got to make sure that we're taking that self-care. And then collectively, we'll meet here this afternoon and we'll talk through some things to figure out where everybody's headspace is. You know, a lot of times during the season, we're just going and going and going. And, you know, we don't really think, okay, let me do an assessment of where everybody is. And this is a day to do that. You know, after you take a loss like that, you know, this is the time to step back. You know, let's put football aside for a second and let's talk about life. Same thing we try to do with our young men. Let's just do a wellness check on everybody in the room and see if there's something that needs to be done, because maybe someone does need something, you know, along the lines of counseling, whether it be grief or trauma, or who knows what it is. And so it's really a big thing nowadays. I think it's something that gets oftentimes overlooked with adults, you know, and student athletes primarily. But as coaches and support staffs, I do have to make sure that they're in a good space too. But as a football team, we'll continue to try to keep the guys together, you know, keep them in the right headspace so they're not turning to things to mask whatever they're feeling right now. That can be detrimental to their success. So that's where we are, and you know, we'll continue to love up on everybody to get us back to a good place where we can play good football and continue to do the things on and off the field that we're required to do.
Thank you for putting it out there. That's extremely important. I did want to say it's good to hear that you haven't called your grilling skills a hobby yet, because we got a little work on that, coach, but we'll get you there.
Haven't had time to, but probably need to fire it up and play around with it a little bit.
No doubt. We'll work on that together. With that being said, seriousness, I want to get into this next game. You talked about the home field and really being able to lever that, but you're playing what in many people's facets is, or certainly what we call Dr. Bill's poll ranking mid-major program, Albany State, #1 program, went into the playoffs last year, playing really good football. They beat Mississippi College 28-14. Have you had a chance to look any film on them?
Well, I haven't had a chance to watch film of this year yet, just because obviously the focus was on Jackson State. But you know, I'm well aware of the job Coach Gardenia has done there at Albany State. We had an opportunity to scrimmage those guys during the COVID spring when we didn't play, and they came down here and they got after us pretty good. We didn't keep score, so you know, don't know who would have won the game, so to speak. But we knew that they came in and played extremely hard and sound and well coached. So we know that this won't be a pushover team. Again, they're the #1 team in Division II football and, you know, conference champion, so they won't be intimidated by us. Obviously, they just saw us, you know, get beat pretty bad, so their confidence will be high. They're a team that, again, is used to playing on the big stage, so we'll have to be ready to play. Like, we got to play our best football on Saturday to get a win. We desperately need a win, and you know, we got to prepare ourselves in a short week to take on a very, very tough Albany State team.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks for your time. Good luck this weekend.
No, thank you.
Next question goes to Luke Williams.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Lou, how are you?
Hey, tough day yesterday. Coach, when you assess what happened, at Jackson State, I mean, most of us thought that if there was any team in HBCU football close to Jackson State, it was you guys. And when you talk about the difference in terms of what happened yesterday, have they raised the level in terms of their talent level across the board that's made them perhaps even maybe raise higher? And does that challenge you as well as everybody else in the SWAC and in FCS football, HBCU football, to really be focused on matching what Coach Sanders has been able to bring into Jackson State?
Well, they're really, really good. They have really good players across the board. They've recruited extremely well. They've capitalized on the transfer portal. They shored up some deficiencies that they had last year on the offensive side of the ball up front. And so it's hard to find a weakness with that football team. Shador played as well as any quarterback I've seen play. When you go 29 or 33 or 5 touchdowns, I think that would probably be a perfect QB rating in the NFL. I mean, he played extremely good football. And whenever you have a quarterback playing at that level with the talent that he has around him, they're gonna be pretty hard to beat. Last year they didn't lose a game in conference, and it'd be hard pressed to see them losing one this year if they continue to play the way they played yesterday. So they're a really, really good team. Can't take anything away from him. The job he's done there is amazing. He's got NFL coaches on his staff who are in quality control roles. I mean, so he's changing the landscape of not only SWAC football, but FCS football. You have the coaching staff that he's been able to assemble and the talent that he's been able to acquire. It's going to make it really difficult to beat that football team, But obviously, you still have to play the game, And for us yesterday, we didn't give ourselves a chance to beat them because we just played really, really poorly in all 3 phases. There's not one phase where we can say that we played solid enough to try to compete with those guys. And so, they're not the 85 Bears, but they're really good and can't take anything away from them. So, again, huge shout out to Prime and what he's done with that program. And but it's a long season. We all got to play, and but we got to get better. I can't focus on Jackson now that ship has sailed. I got to figure out how to fix this team, and we have really good players too. So we'll get back to the drawing board and figure out how we can play the type of game that allows us to go out and put points up and keep people off the scoreboard.
Appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next question goes to JT Keith.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Hey, JT.
Hey, you were. Can you talk about the difference with Shador Sanders this year than last year, and also their offensive line, and then maybe about Travis Hunter? Was he a factor?
Well, Shador, like I just said, he played phenomenal. He played really well last season. It was a Jerry Rice Award winner, is the top FCS freshman in the country. He's a preseason SWAC Offensive Player of the Year. And he showed why he's a big-time quarterback. I mean, the kid was a 4-star coming out of high school, so what he's doing is not surprising. He was in rhythm, and them showing up the offensive line really, really helped him. Last year, he took some shots and people were able to get to him at times, and he struggled a little bit. Other than Isaiah Land getting to him twice. One time he pulled up because he thought he had thrown it, but I think those were the only 2 times we touched him in the backfield. It was Isaiah Land, So again, if you can't get to him and he's able to sit back there comfortably, he's one of the top quarterbacks in America, and he showed that yesterday. So, they've done a really good job. And then Travis Hunter, I think he had a PBU that almost led to an interception. So he's as good as advertised. I think he's even still nursing a little bit of an ankle, so he's not even at 100%. And so, again, you knew those guys, you know about the talent that they have at those key positions. But again, they've done a great job of acquiring talent across the board. So, again, they're a really good football team.
Last question goes to Donald Ware.
What's going on, Coach Simmons? How are you?
Hey, Donald, how's it going?
Pretty good. Can you kind of take us through the process of how, maybe what the difference was this week in terms of being able to get those 17 guys certified opposed to last week? Did the NCAA look at something differently? How were you able to get 17 this week and not the previous week?
Well, it's just a heavy workload for our compliance officer. She was working night and day 2 weeks ago to try to get as many of those waivers out as she could. And she was able to get, I think, 6 out that first week. And we got the 7, and we got, I think, 3 of them approved and the 4 denials. And then coming back this week, again, I commend Dr. Charles McClellan at the SWAC office, for sending their compliance officer Reginald down, and between he and Lori and our university compliance team, they churned out, as many as they could in that week. And so we were able to get the appeals done for the 4 guys that were denied, submitting some new information that, didn't get submitted the first time. And then we were able to get a few more guys certified. So again, it's a team effort, and when you have low staffing, which we had before, it's very difficult with the heavy workload, but with the additional staff and the commitment from our administration to get this stuff done, we were able to get it done. Again, we still have a few more to do, and hopefully we'll get those out, as quickly as possible. But again, it was an all day, all night process to get the guys cleared. They got cleared, and I took my hat to the administration for seeing the need to get it done, make it the #1 priority. And so hopefully we can get past that this week, get everybody back, and be able to just focus on playing football, not on who's certified, who's not certified. Just focus on the team that we have and go play good football.
So the process is more time, the amount of time it takes to get guys certified as opposed to what actually needs to happen. Is that fair to say?
Well, when it comes to situations like ours, oftentimes the certification process can be completed, a little bit quicker than maybe we did this year. Obviously, we had some turnover in our compliance office, and so when the compliance officer was appointed, she was appointed a workload more difficult to certify the guys in ample time, and we have some processes that working through that kind of made it necessary to file the waivers with some of our major changes and some of the other things that we had to do. And again, that's why it's not a situation where we had a lot of guys ineligible. We didn't. We only had a handful of guys, 1 or 2, 3 guys that aren't academically eligible to play. Everybody else is just a process of when their grade change went into the system, when their major change went into the system, and because it went in after the deadline, we have to submit a waiver to the NCAA to say, hey, look, the kid is certified to play. Here's the information, and so that we don't get dinged on the back end, right? We're trying to just cover our tracks, dot every I, cross every T, to make sure that because we're still on probation, if the NCAA does a degree audit, that it doesn't look like we're certifying guys that technically aren't eligible in a previous major when they switch their majors to something else, right? And so those are the type of things that we're working through. And again, so it's more so just policy and procedure than it is, and that's why I was adamant last week that we don't have X number of ineligible players, but we just had guys that weren't certified to compete, and that's because of some of those processes that we're working through as a university. So, but again, everybody's working hard at it. Hopefully we can get the rest of those guys in at the beginning of this week.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
It's no problem.